All right. Good morning, West Coast, Mountain, Central. Good afternoon to everybody on the East Coast. Good to see everyone today. This is our monthly LinkedIn Live. Had to push it back a couple of weeks just because of some, how life works. But as always, information is available on YouTube, and you can check it out on LinkedIn for the foreseeable future. So just really excited to get into the work today. And today, what we are going to explore is a very important topic at this time of the year. Informal check ins, crucial conversations, and self awareness. We know a lot of school leaders are in the process of bringing people on board, motivating those people that are on board to continue to push themselves, and also maybe shifting some different positions. But it's a very not, I wouldn't say rocky, but a lot is happening right now. In addition to balancing the people that you work with each day. So today, again, we're going to focus on those informal check-ins that can help bring people into the fold. Those crucial conversations that need to be had, whether you're giving offer letters or checking in about what's going to happen next year, and also self-awareness for you as a leader to get an understanding of how you show up can impact those check-ins and those conversations. So with that, I'm going to pass it to Jill to dig into the bird frameworks that connect to our work today.
Happy New Year, everyone, and welcome back to those of you who have been joining us for some of our past LinkedIn Lives, and welcome to those where this might be your first LinkedIn Live. If you've been with us for anything, you know that Echelon, we focus our work around bringing in 5 different bird energies and wisdom to support the work that you're doing as a leader. 2 birds in particular, and their energy can help you as we dive into the informal check-ins, the crucial conversations, and the self-awareness. Our first one is our feel-good goose, and you can just take a minute to read through some of the goose's wisdom, as well as the way it shows up on the team. And while you're internalizing it, usually when we do our retreats over the summer, we have at least one person who says something like, "No, Jill, goose are not friendly. Like geese are not friendly. They do not build cohesion." And I said, "You're a human trying to get in with the goose." So the goose is building cohesion among other geese, and they are extremely protective of their flock of geese, which is why they are honking or chasing towards you to move you away from them. So just remember, in this situation, the wisdom of the goose is within its flock. And that's the wisdom you want as the leader, the human leader of human team members. I always like to make that little joke. And so today is really about building cohesion in your team. Thanks, Anwar. And making sure that everyone doesn't have to feel good all the time, but they have to feel connected to the work that they're doing. And even on their tough days, they need to feel like they belong in your group with all their bumps and bruises, and you're working to make them stronger. Next one, Anwar. Thanks. And then, as always, the power of crow when we're dealing with our team and as leaders. Crow is the guardian of the earth, and the crow is extremely adaptable. And so, as leaders, we need to know when we need to pivot, when we need to be more protective of our team members, when we need to push our team members. And as always, this time of year, it's great to connect the actions that you see people do informally to how they are supporting the larger mission of your school.
The muting and everything, I had to get used to it. But thank you, Jill, for opening up with the overarching bird energies that connect to the work that we're going to do today. Just a couple of things that I want to introduce, which I think when I learned about it previously and also did training sessions around it, opposition and dissent, it really supported my ability to make sure everybody's on the same page and also find a way to bring in those folks who might be on the periphery of the mission or vision or goals that I was trying to do as a school leader. So Definitely not from me. By Heifetz, he has a great book on adaptive leadership, which I'm sure a lot of you have read. But just wanted to highlight a couple of the points that he discusses around opponents and voices of dissent. So let's first define them. So opponents want to stop or hinder the change effort. So say if you're trying to do something to change or push or empower folks at schools, opponents, they might have a very different perspective. And also they might have the greatest potential to lose if the plan moves forward. And they can be vocal and or quiet, right? They could be vocal in a team meeting. They could not be vocal at a team meeting, but be vocal at the happy hour with your other colleagues. But the one thing is that I like to focus in on is that their perspective might be different. So, how do we bring in those different perspectives? How do we discuss what they might lose and have try to bring that in the open and try to have those discussions so it doesn't stay underneath or stay within a small group, which can have a bigger impact on the school at large. The other side is voices of dissent, right? They might be naysayers or skeptics who question everything. And I'm going to be first to admit that I naturally go into being someone that is a voice of dissent. That's just my natural disposition. Sometimes it's helped me, sometimes it's hindered me. But these people are within your school, and being conscious of what some of those attributes are can help bring them into the fold to create that cohesion. So, a couple points: one, are often perceived as negative or difficult. Are valuable for change efforts because they ask tough questions and or speak uncomfortable truths, and mainly these folks are pretty vocal. I want to underline the valuable for change efforts. Sometimes those voices of dissent can be castigated to the side. Sometimes those voices of dissent can be put in a particular box because maybe who they are as a person, who they come, where they come from culturally might be different from yours. And with them pushing back or asking tough questions, it can be looked as dissent or not being part of the team. So you really want to take a look at when folks are asking those tough questions, are those questions valid? Am I just getting triggered because it's pushing against the power that I have? But it's just something to be conscious of because you could be in a situation where someone says something you're not feeling the right way and you automatically put it to the side when it might have big input. And with so many things going on at schools at this time of the year, it's easy for a voice of dissent to put you in a wrong mindset where you won't be most beneficial to your students in your community. So just wanted to define opponents and voices of dissent from Heifetz. Now, with that, the charge is to really embrace opposition, right? So one way to do that, spend time with them, listen to them, and you got to spend time to listen. Like one of those times where you'll be able to listen to what they're saying, making time out of your schedule, going after school, right? Showing up before school, getting checking in with people at lunch, or just different pockets. You know your school, you know your setting, but just creating that space and that time to listen and understand people that might be voices of dissent. Demonstrate authentic empathy. Assess how much heat they feel from your plan. If you let out a plan, check how are they feeling? How does this impact what they're doing, right? If there's changes to the school schedule, if there's changes for the upcoming year, you want to assess how these folks are doing. Ask for their input and also remain confident if that is a decision that you want to do. Like it's okay to listen and embrace the opposition, but if you're confident in the decision that you made, my advice is to stick to it. Um, in addition to embracing that opposition, you also want to protect and engage voices of dissent, right? So demonstrate an openness to seemingly subversive ideas. If someone says in a meeting something that might be undercutting something that you said, give some time, try to demonstrate an openness to listen to it and also explain how it might not be connected to the lesson, right? Don't push it off to the side because that could just create more problems. Find useful insights. Again, we don't have to 100% disagree, but you can learn something from someone's insights. Publicly acknowledge helpful dissenters and their views. Great leadership skill, acknowledge it. You don't have to shift to it, but acknowledge it. Create spaces for dissent. One thing that I like to do, especially throughout the year and more towards the end of the year as well, is create those spaces, whether it's a focus group where people can have at it, have someone else have have someone else have a discussion where I'm not present as a leader. If I have a very big presence, have office hours, and some folks don't come to office hours, but some folks will. But check in with other leaders that have different connections and see how those spaces, how that dissent is showing up in those spaces. And then hang around after the meeting or after school or after you're checking in with folks that know that you're there if there's a question that someone might wanted to ask, not in front of so many people. So before I kick it off to Jill, just wanted to highlight these are just some things to take into account as you're dealing with that opposite, as you might be dealing, not everybody's dealing with it, but as you might be dealing with opposition from folks on your team and thinking about ways to bring them on or not have them push everyone from the mission or vision that you're set out to do. And then those voices of dissent, because some of those voices of dissent might be some of your strongest people, and keeping those folks engaged in the work as well. So ran through a lot. These slides are for you, but wanted to hand it off to Jill if there's anything that you wanted to tack on before we jump into my style under stress.
Yeah, can you go back one slide, Anwar, real quick?
No problem.
Thanks. For embracing opposition, just a few like small habits that I think are important for leaders to do either internally or externally. For demonstrating authentic empathy, the question I always ask myself is, what is underneath this? Is it a skill gap or a will gap? And that helps me to decide how I want to engage what is being presented. And then take that along with the bottom two, which is remain confident and ask for input. When we are moving forward as leaders, I always tell my leaders that it's important for them to have like their own internal percentage figured out. So for example, it's January 22nd. If you just got your MAP scores back and you realize you need to do something with your intervention plan by February 1st, and you're ready to present it to your team, it's important for you to name the change with the percent confident that you're moving forward with this plan. So it might sound like I'm 95% confident we're moving forward with this schedule change to get intervention. I believe I have the time, resources, and your planning protected. What I'm not sure about is the scheduling in terms of what kids will miss. So then going back to asking for their input, letting them know exactly where you want their input and helping them to make their opposition and what they can see make your plan stronger. You also can go in front of them and say something like, I'm 50% sure that we need to make a change to intervention. I'm opening the floor up now for the next 2 minutes. Throw everything at me that you think I need to consider, and I'll come back within a week. So that you show that you embrace the opposition, that people's brains, bodies, and feelings work differently than yours, and they may see things that you don't see. And the more you can harness that, the stronger you're going to move forward with your team with cohesion. And I just wanted to name that. Empathy, how to increase it, call it a skill or a will gap. And then creating that real space and remain confident, name where you are confidently. And I always tell leaders, you don't move forward with any plan unless you're at least 85% sure that it's going to go according to plan. Otherwise, if you're not at 85%, you got to keep coming back and opening up for opposition. That's all I had on that one, Anwar. I don't know if you have anything else. Otherwise, we can jump through to some of the technical skills.
Oh, no, I appreciate you adding in something that really resonated with me was how you mentioned to be vulnerable with the group. Yeah, this is about 50%. Come on, give it to me, and I'll come back within a week. But I think that's a great leadership skill, especially around this time when different things might be popping up, test prep and everything. So just want to shout you off for that. But I will go to the technical piece in my style under stress.
Yeah. So one of the pieces of holding crucial conversations and having the informal check-ins and making sure that you're showing up as your team members need you to show up for them is self-awareness in terms of what's happening for you. Some of you may be familiar with this, with the chart. I think it's going to show up on the left of your screen, pool of shared meaning, crucial conversations. There is a quiz online. If you just Google my style under stress, crucial conversations, you can take a free online quiz. And the quiz will let you know, as a human being, when you engage with other human beings, particularly in times of stress, whether you tend towards silence or violence, and how that then keeps you out of the pool of shared meaning. It's subtle. It is not, I know the words withdrawing, attacking, controlling, labeling can seem pretty intense. But the actual way those items are experienced in a crucial conversation are subtle, but they feel very powerful, especially if you're in touch with your physical sensations and your feelings in a crucial conversation. So if you have never taken that quiz, it's a great place to start. And then what I love about the quiz is it lets you know where you're sort of weakest, and then it ties it back into chapters of the book that you can read in order to gain some insights as to how to move past your tendencies as a human. I think the last thing I would say is those tendencies are sometimes conscious and sometimes unconscious. And so taking this quiz is a great first start to being conscious of your tendencies, because once we're conscious, then we can change and make a different decision. Anything else on crucial conversations before I go into threat-based mindset, Anwar?
No, I'd say go ahead. Just put the for those who need it, the link is in the LinkedIn Live as well, and we'll add it to the resources that we share.
Yeah. And if you have a lot of check-ins happening that you're feeling somewhat nervous about or otherwise, reach out to me. Would be more than happy to do a one-time call just to help you do some prep work to move through your tendency of silence or violence so that you can have more productive conversations in the pool of shared meaning with your folks. Most people have heard in the threat-based mindset, the fight and flight response when we roll this out with teams. Fight aligns most with violence. Flight aligns most with silence. Ooh, hold on one second, Anwar.
Oh, okay, sorry about that.
That's all right. And then freeze aligns most with silence. And some people have heard of freeze. In the last 10 years, more people seem to have heard of it. But fawn seems to be a new one. So I'm going to let that sit there while you take it in. And then fawn is basically what you're doing is, and many leaders do this, you're with a person and you disagree with them. So your heart's pounding, you're starting to change colors, you're feeling some kind of feeling that's usually uncomfortable, frustration, sadness, whatever. What some of us know how to do is shut that down and begin performing. And that's the fawn response. And when we do that, we usually find ourselves 1, on a treadmill, and 2, ready to burn out. So, and fawn aligns, like I said, with the violence response, because it is a way of controlling the situation. At least that's the way I interpret it. And again, it is keeping us out of the pool of shared meaning and keeping us from being in our truth as a leader and keeping us from actually being present with the person who is in front of us. So those are just 4 ways to look at what is our natural tendency. Most people know whether they're a fighter or a flighter, but be aware now of freeze and fawn. And all of these, again, they're both conscious and unconscious. And the more you can bring consciousness to them, the better ability you have to be present with your folks in these quick check-ins or crucial conversations this time of year. Anything else on that one, Anwar? Or otherwise, I'm good to go to the next one. And then next one, We've got the distress, eustress wheel that we have shared in other LinkedIn lives. If you click on it, Anwar, does it show up?
Yeah, 1 second. Let me get that.
Sure. And I don't want the first page. It's really that second page. Yep, perfect. Some of y'all have seen this before. It's what I like to use as the basis with my coaches and my leaders for anyone they're coaching, looking at what is the ideal space for a human to actually take new information in. It is the wave of distress and eustress, eustress spelled EUSTRESS. If you know what it is, put it in the chat. For those of you who have never heard of it, eustress is the good stress. It is the stress that lets us get out of bed in the morning to go enjoy our coffee, or to start our first call, or to wake our kids up and get their breakfast ready. It's the stress that says, I have something to do, I'm excited about doing it, and my emotions and my body and my mind are aligned as I'm doing it. Distress, most of us know on the far end of the high end of pressure, where we see people kind of in what's called the zone of delusion, which is where people have taken on too much. And we see that they're not able to handle what they have. We see it as a burnout and sort of a strain. But a lot of people, if you go to the far left of the curve, which is the performance is low and the pressure is low, and I believe they call it a bore out, that's also a sign of distress. And what I'm learning from the millennials, I think there's a term for this that they use now called rotting. It's where they stay in bed and do nothing all day. And I'm like, oh, rotting is a form of, my daughter uses that term a lot, is a form of this burnout, which is I'm so tired, I'm so exhausted, I actually can't move forward. And where I see leaders struggling with this is when they coach a person and the person verbally agrees, yes, I'm going to use stand up, square up. Yes, I'll be sure I use my disco finger. Yes, I'll use my strong voice. And then they go into the classroom and they see evidence of none of that. And it's because the person is in sort of a bore out. They can no longer move their body to align with what it is we're asking them to do. So I like to use this as a reminder for leaders as you're having conversations with people at this time, as you are starting the year, the 2024 calendar year, and going in to finish out your year, constantly assessing where is your team member that you're speaking to, or your team members if you're speaking to a whole group, and are they at the point of optimal performance? Can they actually take the information that you're sharing with them, have it go through the hippocampus and go on to make meaning? I think it's in the front center of their brain, the cerebral cortex. Don't go on my biography or my biology right now. But moving on to the part of the brain that actually makes meaning, so that the meaning is made and the action can go through the body. So this is a great thing, a great tool to just have present with you, just as a reminder, everyone is human, and at any point they may find themselves on this curve. Anything else on that one, Anwar?
Two things. One, the youngsters call it rot or rut.
Rotting.
Rotting. My mother called it being lazy, but no, that's a joke. Like, get your butt up and go to work. Cut it out. Do what you're supposed to do. But that's old school. The second thing is I really like, all jokes aside, using that tool to see where you're at, especially if you do have that like stress to get up to go to work. We want to push our students. We want to make our school be better. That's some good stress, right? I am going to stay, 11 hours today just to make sure that my school, you can reflect, I need a work-life balance maybe, but that stress might be good as well. So some of those things that we do in the pursuit of excellence and perfection, and we can't be perfect, but we're pushing for perfection is good. So thank you for adding. I'm going to go to the next one for you. There's a bit of a
delay or
slow
something. Yes,
between.
I
Oh,
can
I
hear
know
you.
why. I know why. There we go.
Hold on.
Let
No,
me
now it's
see.
shining.
No, that's why. Here we go.
Okay.
We're good. Yes.
Um, and this last slide is a slide that I like to use with folks, with leaders before they go into do professional development. Most of us have heard of IQ, the head level intelligence. EQ has really been making itself known in the last 10 years. I know it's been around for way longer than that. But most leaders at this point have heard of the head IQ intelligence as well as the heart EQ intelligence. PQ is your gut level intelligence. And I will go more deeply into this if this is something you want to work on. But all three of these types of intelligences are ways that people will connect with us in ways that we will connect with others. And as leaders, the more we are able to know where our head is, our IQ is, where our heart is in a situation, how we emotionally connect to something, um, and and where our gut is around how we really like what is our drive and what's happening viscerally in our body. The more we know what ours are, the more we can make decisions where we regulate the three: mind, body. I'm sorry, mind, body, and emotions, and body really being the gut level. And when those three are aligned, we have more cohesion in our coherency in our own body. It creates cohesion in the group. And it's less likely, if we are making decisions where all three of these are aligned, we are less likely to burn out. Keep your ears or your eyes peeled. I intend to write my newsletter on a rebuttal on something I saw Adam Grant post this weekend. I'm a big Adam Grant fan. But he wrote something about feelings happening only in the brain. And I had such a visceral response. It took me a minute to get my words. I did story it. I did story my dissent on, wait, what was it? I did story my voice of opposition on my Instagram, but I intend to have my whole newsletter about the importance of knowing what's happening in that EQ and that PQ for leaders. So we think we've given you enough to connect into around self-awareness as leaders. And if you really liked anything, I think I'm good to go to the next one, Anwar, that
Yeah.
we presented today.
I was just
Uh,
gonna say,
okay.
Jill, you're gonna get your Cat Williams moment. You're going
I'm
at it in
not
your
going full.
newsletter.
I'm not
Oh,
going
okay.
full
I'm like,
Cat
whoa.
Williams.
All right. Go ahead, Jill. Wow.
Not quite
I'm
that
looking out
level.
for that newsletter. Yo, send that out. Let's go. I got your back. If anything, I'll let
I still was shaking when I just went to say about it. I was like, oh, okay.
Oh yeah, I
Um,
got you, Jill. Go ahead.
and so if you liked anything we presented, specifically a lot of the self-awareness stuff, I'm launching my, I think, 6th Impact Leadership cohort. There's still some availability. The first training is January 31st, but if schedule doesn't work that you can't make the first training, there's still opportunity to join and we'll get you caught up on the first training. We have some operations trainings and coaching that's launched with the first training for ops this Wednesday. So check out, you can use this little QR code. Anwar and I are in Boston at Excel Chelsea, and I believe Chelsea, and Brooke Mattapan on Friday, April 26th. Very excited for this. Echelon Summer Leadership Retreats. We will begin, you can begin requesting information and we'll begin securing dates starting February 1. And Anwar, you want to take the last one?
Yeah, just anyone looking for support around launching curriculum implementation and instructional coaching, feel free to reach out. Working with some pretty solid schools now and definitely looking for partnerships to end this school year and also for the 24-25. So just give me or Jill a shout and definitely will reach out for a quick call.
Thank you all. Have a great Monday.
All right. Thank you.